New Year's Day 2024, and that means it's time to go over the fourth quarter of 2023 as well as the entirety of the year of 2023. Hello, my name is Christopher McGee. I'm the owner of Halcyon Real Estate, affiliated with the Keller Williams Market Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today is New Year's Day 2024, and that means it's time to go over the fourth quarter of 2023 as well as the entirety of the year of 2023. Just know that if you have any questions about any of the numbers or charts that we go over here, go ahead and watch my Real Estate Numbers Explained video in the top right of the screen right now. That should be flagged up there. But let's go ahead and look at the quarter in review, the fourth quarter of 2023, as well as the year in review with the data points that I bring to you every Monday. So get ready for some numbers. All right, our inventory as of when I checked this morning is at 7,563. That's down almost 300 from the previous week. It's trending down for over 2 months now. Okay, and it's informative to look at the year in review for each of these charts. So on the chart for inventory, we see that we started just over 7,500 and that it dropped a bit and then it rose for the majority of the year until a couple of months ago when it started to come down pretty steeply. We're actually ending the year just below where we started it. Utah did a great job throughout this year, particularly in comparison with a lot of other states in the nation, keeping our inventory up. It's a miracle that we got it to almost 10,000. The fact that our demand remained as it has throughout the year means that this inventory overall rise throughout the year of 2023 is a miracle. 2024 is going to start with low inventory, and we'll see how low it is come spring if we continue to dip as we have been dipping the last 2 months. And that's going to put us in a tight spot of, I've been talking about it for weeks now, high demand, particularly with the spring and buyer activity increases, high demand with low inventory, and as I've talked about quite a bit, dropping interest rates. And all those things are going to meet to make the uncomfortable atmosphere of continually rising home prices. And so inventory rising as much as it did through the year saved us as much as it could from the super low inventory we could have had if our demand had stayed as it was this year and we didn't bring that inventory up. Thank you to all the builders in Utah who worked throughout this year to keep our inventory up. Because as you may know, a lot of people chose not to sell this year, concerned that if they bought a house now, they were buying at a high price point and a high interest rate point, and a lot of sellers didn't want to sell their home and jump into that buy situation. So I think builders saved us in Utah this year on inventory. Average days on market for the previous week came to 52 days. That's down from the previous week. This is trending up. And if we look at this data set through the year, we see that we overall came down, which speaks in some measure to the demand that remained in Utah through a year of high interest rates. And even through a spring, summer, and fall of rising inventory, we continue to drop on expected days on market for homes that hit the market. We're ending the year at 52, pretty close to where we started the year, but most of the year was under that line. Average list price, we'll be happy to hear, on this prior week was $592,859, down from the prior week, trending down throughout the fourth quarter. We can see that throughout the fourth quarter, average list price finally trended down. Look at this data set through the year. We started around 550K. It rose steadily, reaching a high point in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter, and started to dip down from there. And we haven't seen average list price below 600K for almost 2 quarters. So anyone hoping to buy a home soon is happy to see average list price for homes trending down. Now, average sold price for the prior week was $579,625, which means that for last week, the difference between list price versus sold price came to $13,272 in favor of the buyer. And that's up closer to no difference between those two numbers from the previous week. Number is trending down. When we look at this graph from the year's end review, this data set, I think this is an interesting graph. Look at how that average trend line is flat right below $10,000 in favor of the buyer. We see one blip in the entirety of the year where for 1 week it seemed that there was an average difference between list and sold price that was actually in favor of the seller, which tells you that clearly the entire year long, things landed in favor of the buyer in terms of what the sellers expected their homes would sell for and asked for versus the price at which the home actually closed. So we're really starting 2024 right about where we started 2023 in terms of the difference between average list and average sold price. Buyers can expect to walk away with something close to $10,000 less than list price. Homes sold in the prior week came to 400 exactly, which is down from the previous week by just 45. This has clearly trended down throughout the fourth quarter, and that's just seasonally expected. It's winter and it's the fourth quarter. Number of sales drops, but I find this chart that looks at homes sold throughout the year also very interesting. Could that trend line be any flatter? So when we average out the data points of the demand for homes in Utah throughout 2023, we get a steady just under 500 homes per week. It's been above the average line, it's been below the average line, but the fact that we average out throughout the year about just under 500 homes sold per week is both interesting and encouraging to know that the demand for homes in Utah continues to stay strong. The number of homes currently under contract comes to 3,624, which is down a bit from the previous week, not by a great deal. We can see that this has trended down throughout the fourth quarter. And when we look at the year in review, we can see that we started pretty low in the first quarter, and then spring hit, and we were steady even for a little while, and it's largely overall throughout the year trended down. Looks like we're starting on the market this year with some 500 fewer homes under contract than we did last year. The number of price reductions that we had last week came to 232, which was exactly the same number that we had the week before that. This has trended sharply down, as we can see. When we look at this data set across the year of 2023, how low it was at the very, very beginning of the first quarter versus how high it got towards the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, and then plummeted like it has across the last bit of the fourth quarter here, makes me wonder this. It makes me wonder whether it didn't take all year for sellers to realize that they had to drop their prices a little more significantly than they had started the year thinking. Because while there have been fewer price reductions, the number of times that sellers have dropped their price, that number has dropped. That's what this chart shows us. But we've already looked at the chart that shows us that throughout the year, the difference between list price and sold price remains steadily close to the same, just under $10,000 or just over $10,000, depending on how you look at it on the graph, right? Buyers bought homes for about $10,000 less than they were listed at all year long. So if in September and October, buyers had to drop their prices per week on average 1,100 times, and buyers bought homes for $10,000 less than average list price, and then 2 or 3 months later, sellers only dropped their price 232 times per week, and buyers are still getting the house for about $10,000 less than list price. It tells me that the sellers are catching on the direction that the market has gone. And finally, the last number we always look at, the number of listing contracts that were either canceled, expired, or withdrawn from the MLS last week came to 861, which of course shot up from the prior week. Not only is this the first of the month, it is the first of the year, and that means that a lot of listing contracts were expired, just because a lot of listing agents will write the term of their contract to end on a particular month or to end with the conclusion of a year. So we can see on the chart that covers the entire year of 2023 that we started with over 1,000 canceled, expired, or withdrawn listings from the MLS, and then it shot down from there. Our trend line stays even around 300, 350, and then at the very end of the year, it shot back up to 861 just because, like I said, it's the end of the month and the end of a year, and so a lot of listing contracts expire. Okay, all these charts and all these numbers accounted for and understood and wrapped up and summed up, 2023 was a year where Utah won in a dangerous battle to maintain inventory. And as the year ends, that inventory is plummeting, and inventory often comes down between fourth and first quarters because there are just fewer sellers wanting to move at that time of year. But we'll see where our inventory meeting with our demand puts us in a few few months once spring hits and buyer activity rises here in Utah. So I'll end this video by saying what I have been saying for the last couple of months. The first 3 months of this year are going to be a good time to buy real estate because buyers' interest rates have come down a little bit. They're already better than they were through the majority of 2023. And home prices have been trending down for the last couple of months now. And as inventory comes down, interest rates come down, and demand picks up in spring, home prices are going to come back up significantly again. And while interest rates might get better, I don't anticipate them getting massively better, certainly not in the first or second quarter of the year. So if the numbers make sense for you and financially, if you can break into the housing market, you first-time home buyers, the next couple of months might be the best time to do it all year. It'll be a good time to buy besides, even if you're not a first-time home buyer, and of course, as always, if it makes sense for you right now. I hope you've had a good holiday. I hope you have a fantastic start to your 2024. If you have any questions about anything that I've gone over in this video, let me know, hit me in the comments. And if you or anybody you know is thinking to buy a home or sell a home in Utah in the coming months, I hope you'll reach out to me. Feel free to do so here. You know I know this market and I'll always be happy to be on your team. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on in Utah's housing market right now, if you want to know what the right now market is at any point in time, just hit subscribe and every Monday you'll know exactly what's going on in the Utah housing market. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.